What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of MLB action here on Wednesday, June 26th. Pretty weird stuff out there on Tuesday, guys. We did not have a good day. Started things off on a sour note with the Phillies minus 120. They just could not get anything going offensively in that game. They ended up losing 4-1 to the Tigers. So, yeah, pretty tough stuff there. That Pittsburgh-Cincinnati no-run first inning play got blown out of the water. So, we snap our winning streak there on no-run first inning plays. Boston minus 116. They just could not do anything right in that game, it didn't feel like. Ended up losing that one by a pretty decisive margin. Just not looking good at all against a team they should be much better than. Then we had the Braves Cardinals game get postponed. That's going to be played as part of a doubleheader today. And then we've got the Kansas City Royals minus 1.5. They managed to score a grand total of 1 run against the Miami Marlins. So just terrible stuff up and down the lineup. Got to bounce back today. Let's see if we can get back on track here with a full Wednesday slate. Before we get into the games, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description and go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today and we'll give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Seattle Mariners taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. The Mariners come into this game fresh off an 11-3 loss there in game 2. Things not looking great. They're 45-37 on the year, so that's not bad, but yeah, they're not playing their best ball, guys. They've actually lost 6 out of their last 7 games, so having a rough time. Hitting the ball in this one to George Kirby, who's 6-5 this season with a 3.47 ERA. He's coming off of a we'll say pretty good start there. It was against the Miami Marlins, but it was on the road, which is not the best place for the Mariners, obviously. I mean, we do see the Mariners are 4-1 over his last 5 starts. In that start against the Marlins, where they ended up losing in extra innings, he went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits and only 2 earned runs. He did give up 2 home runs in that game, which is something of a concern, but in general, guys, he's looked very good over his last 5 starts. No complaints for me about George Kirby, and honestly, no complaints for me about that Seattle bullpen. They've been holding pretty steady this season overall. I mean, obviously, they're going to have their ups and downs. It's a long season, but they're holding steady in 7th place with a 3.59 ERA, so no major problems there. The big problem for this team, generally speaking, has been their offense. They're sitting at 22nd in the majors in runs scored, 29th, second to last in the majors, batting only .220 as a team. So not a squad you can really count on for a ton of offense. They've scored 3, 4, 9, and 2 runs respectively over their last 5 games. So yeah, just not having a great time at the plate. They're going to have to put up some runs here against the Tampa Bay Rays, who come into this game playing some of their best ball this season. They've actually won 6 out of their last 7 games. They're up to 40-40 on the year. Handing the ball in this game to Ryan Pepio, who's 4-4 this season with a 4.61 ERA. He's coming off of a very short outing there against the Pirates. It was on the road at Pittsburgh. He went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 3 hits and 2 earned runs. So can't feel too great about that short appearance. And he's had his ups and downs since coming back. He did have a pretty reasonable start there at Miami. He had a very good start against the Oakland A's, but a bit of a rough time against Atlanta and a bit of a rough time against Pittsburgh over his last 2 starts. So we're a little bit worried about him. I don't think it's like disaster level worried about him, but we're definitely worried about the Rays bullpen, guys. Not a very good bullpen, and if they have to soak up a lot of innings for this game, that leaves a lot of opportunities, even for a bad offense like the Mariners, to put up some runs. The Rays bats, however, have been much better lately. They've scored 11, 4, 3, 3, and 10 runs respectively over their last 5 games, so not looking too bad at all. I mean, they're climbing. These are numbers that are trending in a positive direction, guys. They're 20th in the majors in batting average, batting .236. They are 23rd in the majors in runs scored. They're at league average in on-base percentage, so that's pretty nice, but a very low power team, so that's a bit concerning, but in general, we can be pretty happy with how they're swinging the bats right now. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Mariners at minus 112. We see the Rays at plus 100. We've got an over-under of 7.5 in this game, so this is kind of a weird spot. In general, you kind of want to fade the Mariners playing day games because they're just not really used to it. They're used to playing in like a cloudy, semi-cooler environment. But in this one, it's a little bit odd because they're going to be playing indoors at Tampa Bay. So it's kind of a weird spot. In general, guys, I'm leaning towards the Mariners minus 112. I think they can bounce back with George Kirby on the mound and get a win in this game. But it seems a bit tough to me in general. I mean, they're not playing the best. They're not swinging the best bats. They're 18-25 on the road, which is pretty bad, and the Rays are by far the hotter team. So giving the Mariners as a very small lean. I'm not interested in the over-under of 7.5, and I'm really not interested in betting this game. Next on the docket, guys, we have the Philadelphia Phillies going on the road to take on the Detroit Tigers. The Phillies let us down big time yesterday, guys, only scoring a single run at Detroit in Game 2 of that series. Pretty tough stuff. I mean, Skubal looked great, don't get me wrong. Suarez didn't look terrible, and yeah, just no offense coming out of the Phillies. They're going to be handing the ball in this game to Spencer Turnbull, who has yet to figure out a decision this year. He's normally a bullpen guy, so we're looking at a bullpen day here from the Phillies. His last time out of the bullpen, he did go 3 innings, gave up 2 hits, and struck out 2, gave up no runs against the Arizona Diamondbacks, so, that's not terrible. Also, the Phillies bullpen, guys, is very, very good. A 3.08 bullpen ERA is nothing to turn your nose up at, so I'm really not too scared to have this bullpen pitch their way through an entire game. I think they'll find a way to have some success here. The question for me for the Phillies is, what are we going to get from their bats? I mean, it's definitely a bounce back spot after scoring only a single run, so we'll see what we actually get out of them. I mean, obviously it's been one of the best offenses in the majors all season long. 4th in runs scored, 3rd in batting average, batting .260 as a team. This is a team that should be very, very, very elite up there at the plate. They just did not have a good day yesterday, and a lot of very good teams have had a hard time against Skubal. The Phillies are going to be trying to bounce back here, going up against this Tigers team that has, I guess, won 2 out of their last 3 technically, but they're only 3-3 in their last 6. They're 37-42 on the year, so not a lot of crazy things, not a lot of amazing stuff there. In general, this season, guys, their pitching staff hasn't been amazing. We actually do not have a confirmed starter for this game, and when I say not amazing, they also haven't been terrible. Like, don't get me wrong, Skubal makes a lot of those numbers look a lot better. They're 11th in the majors in earned run average. They are 8th in the majors in terms of quality starts this season. They're 16th in batting average against those, so that's obviously not fantastic. In general, guys, their bullpen specific numbers this season have them ranked around 10th in the majors with a 3.81 bullpen ERA. So if this ends up being a bullpen day for the Tigers, while we don't think it's as good of a spot as a bullpen day for the Phillies, in general, probably not amazing. Over the course of the season, this has not been a great offensive team. Over their last few games, they've looked a bit better, scoring 4, 1, 11, and 1 runs respectively. So, pretty all over the place. We have seen Riley Green has some success lately, but overall, there's a reason this team is below average in every major offensive statistical category. Just not a great offensive team. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the odds makers are pretty big on the Phillies. Again, we have the Phillies at -176 in this game. Got the Tigers at +148. We've got an over-under of 9. The Phillies are 20-15 on the road. Detroit is 19-21 at home. In this game, guys, I do think there's some value in maybe a sneaky underplay, given that, neither team is really swinging the hottest bats right now, and I think both of these bullpens, if this ends up being a two bullpens facing each other over the course of the entire game, are not bad. I also think there's some value on the Phillies -176 in this game. However, I'm pretty unlikely to bet on this game until I find out who we're actually going to have out there on the mound to start the game for the Tigers. So kind of a wait and see spot. I lean towards the Phillies and their offense in a bounce back game, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Pittsburgh Pirates going on the road to take on the Cincinnati Reds. The Pirates come to this game fresh off of a 9-5 win there in Game 2 of their series at Cincinnati. They're handing the ball in this game to Luis Ortiz, who has yet to figure out a result this season. He does have 1 save. His last time, on the mound was a relief appearance back on the 21st against the Tampa Bay Rays. He went 4 innings, gave up 10 hits, and 6 earned runs in that outing. So, pretty rough stuff there. His outing before that was another long relief outing. That was back on the 14th. He went 5 innings, he gave 7 hits, and a single earned run. So, yeah, not somebody I've got a whole lot of faith in this game. And in general, guys, the Pirates bullpen, while they haven't been completely bottom of the barrel, a 4.05 bullpen ERA is not great. Definitely below average in the majors. And this offense, while they're coming off of a game where they scored 9 runs, and they've scored 9 and 5 runs respectively over their last 2, this is a bit of an aberration, guys. They've scored 9, 5, 1, 4, and 3 runs respectively over their last 5. So, maybe they're swinging, just a touch hotter of bats right now, but in general this season it hasn't been great, and it's not a team that I'm super high on at the plate. I mean, 27th in the majors in batting average, 28th in the majors in slugging percentage. I don't even think they've really got the kind of power to put up crazy numbers again here, even at the Great American Ballpark. So big questions for me about the Pirates. They're taking on the Cincinnati Reds in this game, who've been having a bit of a tough time lately. I mean, they won 11-5 in Game 1 of this series, then lose 9-5 in Game 2. They're 37-42 this year, handing the ball to Graham Ashcraft, who's 4-3 this season with a 5.05 4.45 ERA. He's coming off of a rough outing there at Colorado. He went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits. So not exactly a great time. He's given up 4, 3, 5, 3, and 3 runs respectively over his last 5 starts. Yeah, just not the kind of numbers they're going to fill me with a ton of confidence, guys. I mean, the Reds bullpen has been a bit better. They're fading a little bit. I mean, obviously didn't have a great day yesterday. 13th in the majors with a 3.89 bullpen ERA. So, that's fine. That's whatever. The offense is very hit or miss, guys. Not an offense that I have a ton of faith in. We see, they're getting a little bit banged up, possibly. They're 17th in the majors in runs scored, 26th in the majors in team batting average, 22nd in on-base percentage. Just not a lot of positives to find for the Cincinnati Reds right now. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we've got the Pirates at plus 104. We've got the Reds at minus 122. We've got an over-under of 9.5 in this game. The Pirates are close to a 500 team on the road. Cincinnati is close to a 500 team at home. We see both teams showing some trends towards the under. Not super interested in that after what we've seen in the first 2 games of the series. Overall, guys, I'm leaning towards the Reds minus 122 at home. While I don't have a ton of faith in Ashcraft, I've got way more faith in him than I have in Luis Ortiz or the Pirates bullpen. So give me the Reds minus 122 in this game. Does it end up in the pinned comment? Seems pretty unlikely to me. I don't have a ton of faith here in Ashcraft. Next on the docket, guys, we've got game 1 of the doubleheader between the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals. The Braves and Cardinals had their game get suspended or get postponed yesterday, so we're looking at the same starters that we were looking at yesterday. We've got Reynaldo Lopez taking the mound for the Atlanta Braves. He's been great this season, 5-2 on the year with a 1.57 ERA. He's coming off of a very good start, a shutout start against the Tigers. He did give up 7 hits in that game, so maybe not his best stuff, but he didn't give up any runs, and he struck out 6. So he looked pretty decent in that one. We do see the Braves are 4-1 over his last 5 starts, 4-0 over his last 4. He's looked good against teams like the Orioles, and none of the other ones are really great offensively, but a very, very dominant start there at Baltimore is pretty impressive stuff. The Atlanta Braves bullpen, not a terrible one at all. They're 8th in the majors with a 3.60 ERA, so nothing wrong with that. This team can struggle at the plate at times, but they haven't been awful. Ozuna's been a monster all season long. They're 15th in the majors, so exactly average was 337 runs scored this year. They're 8th in the majors in slugging percentage, though, and 14th in batting average, batting .245 as a team. So not too worried about this offense. It's not a bad one. They're going to have to put up some runs here against the Cardinals, who come into this game winners of their last 4 in a row. They actually won game 1 of this series 4-3. They're 40-37 on the year, trying to put some pressure there on the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cardinals are handing the ball to Kyle Gibson in this game. He was scratched in his last one for back tightness. He's missed some time this week away from the team for a death in the family, so he could be a little bit tough out there for him. He gets an extra day off, but now has to pitch in the morning instead of the evening, so that can kind of throw a pitcher's whole rhythm, whole routine off. He's 5-2 this season with a 3.44 ERA. He's coming off of a great start there at Chicago back on the 14th, so it's going to have been 11 days or 12 days since his last start, so that's maybe something of a concern. He went 7 innings, gave 2 hits against the Cubs, though, so that's pretty dominant stuff. The Cardinals bullpen has been looking a bit better lately. They are up to 14th in the majors with a 3.92 bullpen ERA, but they have had their problems over the course of the season. So has the Cardinals offense. Over their last 4 games, all of which have been wins, they've scored 4, 5, 9, and 6 runs respectively. So not exactly swinging the craziest, hottest bats despite being on a winning streak. They're 26th in the majors in runs scored, 20th in the majors on base percentage. We see Contreras, he's back from his fractured forearm. What are we going to expect to see from him here in the early goings? Might be a little bit tough. It might take him a little bit time to work back into the flow of things, but overall, the Cardinals have definitely been looking better. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Braves at minus 126. We see the Cardinals at plus 108. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Atlanta is only 19-20 on the road, and the Cardinals are 20-15 at home. But in general in this game, guys, I've got 2 different things, maybe 3 different things, honestly, that I think are reasonable. I like the Braves minus 126. I think this is a pretty decent spot for them. I don't think we're going to see, top tier Kyle Gibson, start in this one. I also think no run first inning is in play in this game. Neither one of these offenses is going nuts right now, and both of these starters could be okay. It's a little bit sketchy given, that I think Gibson might struggle. I also think under 8.5 is in play. But in general, in this game, guys, I'm going to be on the Atlanta Braves minus 126. I liked them minus 130 something yesterday, so I definitely like them minus 126 today. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Colorado Rockies going on the road to take on the Houston Astros. The Rockies come to this game losers of 4 out of their last 5. They lost game 1 of this series 5-2. They're handing the ball in this one to Ryan Feltner. He's 1-6 this season with a 6.02 ERA, coming off a very bad start there against the Dodgers. He went 5 innings, gave up 7 hits and 6 earned runs. It was a game we saw the Rockies kind of of miraculously win 7-6. So they'll definitely take that. But in general, guys, Feltner straight up not having a great time over his last 5 starts. The Rockies are 2-3 over those starts, but that really has not been his fault. The Rockies bullpen, no major shock here, has been one of the worst in the majors this season. So not a whole lot of faith in this pitching staff, even once Feltner comes out of the game. This offense has also not been amazing, guys. They've scored 2, 1, 8, 5, and 3 runs respectively over their last 5 games. Not great there. Over the course of the season, they haven't put up great numbers either. I mean, they're 16th in the majors in runs scored and 16th in the majors in on-base percentage. Despite getting to play half their games at Coors Field, that's a pretty tough look. They're going to have to get something going here at the plate, going up against the Houston Astros, who are playing some of their best ball of the season. They've now won 6 in a row to get themselves to 39-40 on the year, almost back to 500, guys. They won 5-2 in Game 1 of this series. The series before that, they swept the Baltimore Orioles in pretty impressive fashion. They're handing the ball to Spencer Arrighetti in this game. He's 3-6 this year with a 6.36 ERA. He's coming off of a decent bounce-back start there at the Chicago White Sox. He did give up 3 earned runs on 5 hits over a pretty short start, so, you know, we're not exactly ready to throw the guy a parade, but he did look much better than getting shelled against the Detroit Tigers. So, I mean, overall, Houston is 3-2 over his last 5 starts, and one of those was not his fault at all. I mean, at San Francisco, he looked very, very good, and his team ended up losing in 10 innings. So, you know, he's looked okay. Not a guy we can super trust. We also can't super trust the Astros bullpen, although they are making some strides towards respectability. They're now 18th in the majors with a 4.10 bullpen ERA. So not the disaster that they once were, definitely trending in a positive direction, but also not a bullpen that we're super pumped about. The Astros bats have definitely come alive though, guys. Over their 6-game winning streak here, they've scored 5, 8, 5, 14, 5, and 4 runs respectively. So pretty good stuff. All season long, this team has had great counting stats. I mean, they've been first or second in team batting average pretty much all season long. They're batting .262 as a squad. That is impressive stuff. They are 8th in the majors in on-base percentage, 5th in the majors in slugging percentage, guys. They're 12th in the majors in runs scored, but all of those numbers pretty much are trending upwards, especially that run scored one. Expecting good things from them. We see Jose Altuve hitting the ball really well lately. Like, just a lot of good things lining up right now for the Astros. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we've got Colorado at plus 175. We've got the Astros at minus 188. We have an over-under in this game of 8.5. We see Colorado is a very, very weak 11-27 on the road. We see Houston is a solid 23-19 at home. We see Arrighetti's last start at home obviously was a tough one, but his last time out there, he looked much better at the White Sox. So I think we can expect decent things from him and from this Astros bullpen. Guys, I'm definitely leaning towards the Astros in this game. We've got an over-under of 8.5. The Astros are an MLB best to the under team, but we're not too interested in the under in this game, guys. I'm more interested in the Astros minus 188 or the Astros minus 1.5. If you do take a minus 1.5, you can get him at plus 100 or plus 105. With Arrighetti on the mound, that might seem a little bit sketchy, but the Rockies are putting Feltner out there on the mound, so I don't think it's too sketchy. In general, guys, I'm leaning towards the Astros one way or the other. Will this end up in the pinned comment? We'll just have to wait and see. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Miami Marlins going on the road to take on the Kansas City Royals. The Marlins got a pretty surprising 2-1 win there in Game 2 of this series. They're 28-51 on the season. They're handing the ball to a young minor leaguer in Volante Beloso. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. Not 100% sure. It's going to be his first start of the year. Not a lot of info on this guy. He's not a tall guy. He's a short right-hander. We'll see what we actually get out of him. Not obviously a guy that I have super high expectations for, and I also don't have super high expectations for the Marlins bullpen. Obviously, they looked great here in Game 2 of this series, but do they have the stuff to back that up in Game 3? We'll just have to wait and see. The Marlins have been playing some better ball lately. I mean, they have won 5 out of their last 7 games, so nothing too much wrong with that, but it hasn't really been, due to some crazy offensive outbursts. The pitching staff's just been a little bit better, but yeah, over their last few games, guys, they've scored 2, 1, 6, 0, and 3 runs respectively. So not an amazing offense, not swinging the hottest bats right now. They're second to last in the majors in runs scored. They're also second to last in on-base percentage and slugging percentage. So just not an offense that we feel very good about at all, guys. They did manage to get that win, but they only put up 2 runs there in Game 2. Probably going to have to score more than 2 runs here in Game 3 against the Royals, who are 43-38 on the year. Not having their best time right now, obviously. I mean, they hit some pretty high highs earlier in the season, but right now things are a bit of a struggle. They're handing the ball to Brady Singer, hoping he can get things back on track for them. He's 4-4 this season with a 3.29 ERA. He's coming off a very good start there at the Texas Rangers, where he went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits, and only a single earned run. So a decent road start there for a team that generally struggles on the road. I think they'll definitely take that. In general, guys, the bullpen has turned into something of a problem for the Royals. I mean, they are still 11th in the majors with a 3.84 bullpen ERA, but yeah, the bullpen's had its issues. Maybe not so much in this series, but overall, maybe not trending in the best direction, but also not a bullpen that I'm super worried about going up against the Marlins. I mean, this pitching staff combined to allow only 2 runs in game 2 and still lost that game. So really the onus goes on the Kansas City offense, which has happened upon hard times lately. I mean, they've scored 1, 4, 0, and 0 runs over their last 4 games. Something's got to change here. They're back at home, so it's time for these bats to awaken. Not a lot of negatives to report about this offense over the course of the season. Just lately, things have turned into something of a struggle. I do think we're going to see them get back on track, though, here. I mean, they're going up against a young, semi-unknown guy, but not somebody I'm too impressed in. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Marlins at plus 188, the Royals at minus 225. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. Obviously, we're looking at the Royals minus 1.5 here. If you take a minus 1.5, you can get them at minus 110. That seems extremely reasonable, guys. Go ahead and give me the Royals minus 1.5. We're running it back with them again. They are 26 and 15 at home, which is very solid. These bats have to get on track. No better time than going up against the Marlins and against a minor league pitcher. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Texas Rangers going on the road to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. The Rangers come to this game losers of the first 2 in this series. They're 37 and 42 on the year, not having their best time right now. They're handing the ball in this game to Nathan Eovaldi. He's been one of their better starters this season. He's 4-3 this year with a 3.14 ERA, coming off of a pretty solid start against the Kansas City Royals, where he went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. It was kind of a bounce back after having a hard time at Seattle, but in general, over his last 5 starts, he's looked very good. We see the Rangers are 3-2 over those starts, but those 2 losses, not super his fault. I mean, he didn't have a very good time at Seattle, but his start against the Detroit Tigers that they lost, he only gave up a single run in 5 2/3 innings. So that one doesn't really fall on him. The Rangers bullpen this season, guys, hasn't been amazing. Maybe hasn't been terrible. They're right there around league average. So we'll give them a little bit of credit for that. This offense has had some very high highs and some very low lows. And right now, guys, not swinging the hottest bats. Only 4 total runs over the first 2 games of this series at Milwaukee. So not exactly having a great time at the plate. They're 17th in the majors in runs scored, 22nd in the majors in slugging percentage. They're down to 19th in the majors in on base percentage. Like, this is just a team that has some issues up there offensively, and they're going to have to score some runs here going up against the Milwaukee Brewers, who've now won 3 in a row. They're 47 and 33 on the year. Unfortunately for the Brewers, we do not have a confirmed starter yet for this game. We'll just have to see who they end up putting out there. I mean, in general, guys, this Milwaukee Brewers bullpen has been top 10 this season. Maybe they've had a little bit of trouble lately. In terms of quality starts, though, their starters have not been awesome, guys. 28th in the majors in quality starts this year. So, yeah, if this ends up being like a bullpen game for the Brewers, we honestly don't hate it too much. We'll just have to wait and see, though. Can't make a huge prognostication about this game until we know who's actually going to be out there on the mound. The Brewers' offense has been very good lately. I mean, they've scored 3, 6, and 6 runs over their last 3 games, so that will definitely work. They're 5th in the majors in runs scored, 5th in the majors team batting average, 3rd in the majors getting on base at a 332 clip. Like, this is definitely an offense worthy of respect. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, the Rangers minus 108, the Brewers minus 108. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. These numbers just dropped, so I expect them to change considerably, but not really sure which way we're leaning in this game, guys, until we get more clarity about the Brewers pitching situation. So right now, this is just a wait-and-see spot. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Oakland A's going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Angels. We see these 2 teams currently playing right now. They're in the bottom of the 8th inning with the Angels up 7-5 and some runners on base, so they definitely have the advantage in that game. Looking like a tough spot again for the A's, who are having a very hard time this season. They're 29 and looking like it's going to be 29 and 53 on the year. They're handing the ball in this one to Joey Estes, who's 2-2 this season with a 5.53 ERA. He is coming off a pretty decent start against the Twins. He had 2 starts back-to-back against the Twins. He got shelled in the first one and then bounced back and looked pretty decent there in the second one. So we'll give the guy some credit, but not a ton. A 5.53 ERA, not exactly something to write home about. Neither is the Oakland A's bullpen, guys. They're 22nd in the majors with a 4.35 bullpen ERA, so not exactly a lockdown pitching staff there for the A's. No major surprise there. They're also struggling at the plate. I mean, they have scored 5 runs in their current game, but before that, they had scored 1, 0, and 2 runs respectively. So not swinging the hottest bats, guys. They're 28th in the majors in runs scored, 28th in the majors in team batting average, batting .221 as a team. That's pretty tough stuff. They're 28th in the majors also in on base percentage, getting on base at well under a 300 clip. So all of that adds up to an offense that's going to really struggle to get runs across the plate. And going up against the Angels, guys, it looks like they're going to have to get some runs across the plate. I mean, the Angels are only 31 and 46 on the year, but they're a team that can, maybe not consistently, but pretty often put up some offense. They're handing the ball in this game to Roansy Contreras, who has yet to figure in a result this season, is sporting a 3.90 ERA. Going to be making his first start of the year. His last time out, he pitched 1 inning in relief appearance at the Dodgers. Didn't give up a hit or a run or anything like that and struck out one. So a decent outing there. He did have a 3-inning outing against the Milwaukee Brewers where he looked pretty good. Honestly, guys, his last 2 outings have looked very respectable, albeit in games that we saw the Angels losing pretty convincingly. So not exactly high pressure spots, but going against the Oakland A's, also not a super high pressure spot. The Angels not looking amazing. Their bullpen is terrible, so not a lot to say about that. 24th in the majors, a 4.73 bullpen ERA. So this is looking like a bullpen start for the Angels, and that makes things a little bit tough. Their offense has, it's had its moments this season for sure, but 24th in the majors in runs scored and 24th in the majors in on-base percentage. No Mike Trout in there to really pick up the slack. I just don't have a ton of positives to talk about for this offense. I mean, they are coming off a game where they're going to have scored at least 7 runs, so that's something positive there, but are they going to be able to carry that over in this game going up against an actual starter? We'll just kind of have to wait and see. Looking at the numbers for this one, guys, we see the A's at plus 106, the Angels at minus 124. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. I don't know, guys. This is just 2 very bad teams. I mean, Oakland is 11-29 on the road. The Angels are 13-25 at home. The Angels are a terrible, terrible home team. The Oakland is a terrible, terrible road team. The Angels are going to be using their terrible bullpen in this game. In general, guys, I'm maybe leaning slightly towards the A's and maybe slightly towards the over 9 in this game, but do not make me bet this game. I am very uninterested in trying to figure out which one of these terrible teams is going to be less terrible today. Moving right along here, guys, we got the Washington Nationals going on the road to take on the San Diego Padres. The Nationals come into this game fresh off of what is looking like it's going to be a loss there at the Padres. They're down 6-9 in the top of the 9th inning. So another tough outing there for the Nationals. They're going to fall to 38-41 on the season if things keep going the way they're pointed. They're handing the ball in this game to DJ Hurst, who's 1-1 this season with a 4.50 ERA, coming off of a pretty rocky outing there at Colorado. He went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 7 hits and 4 runs. 3 of them were earned. He gave up 3 home runs in that game, a stark contrast to his dominant outing against the Marlins, where he went 6 innings, gave up 1 hit, and struck out 13 hitters. So we'll see which version of DJ Hurst we get in this game. We can feel pretty decent about the Nationals bullpen. I mean, they've been above average this season. A 3.88 bullpen ERA is not too bad, but I don't think they looked too great here in this current game that they're actively playing in right now. So definitely some concerns about that. Also some concerns about their offense. I mean, the fact they scored 6 runs in this current game isn't bad. They scored 6 runs in game 1 of this series also. So we can give them some credit for swinging the bats a little bit better, but also that has not quite been enough. So, some concerns about this offense. CJ Abrams is swinging the bat pretty well. He's leading the way for them with a 275 batting average and 12 home runs, but this team is 21st in the league in runs scored and 23rd in the league in on-base percentage. So definitely some question marks about this offense. They're taking on a Padres team that's swinging the bats pretty well right now and looking to add another win here onto a pretty solid streak. If they can finish things off in this one, they will have won 6 out of their last 7 games to get themselves 2 games above 500. They're handing the ball in this one to Dylan Cease, who's 6-6 this season with a 4.14 ERA. He's coming off of back-to-back pretty questionable starts. He had a really hard time at the New York Mets when they were on that crazy hot streak. He gave up 7 earned runs on 7 hits. And then his last time out back on the 21st against the Milwaukee Brewers, it was a game that the Padres ended up winning 9-5, but he gave up 4 earned runs over 4 2/3 innings, so not exactly the best stuff. So got some questions about him for sure, and some questions about the Padres bullpen that's 19th in the majors with a 4.10 bullpen ERA, so not exactly something I'm super excited about. The Padres offense, though, is something I'm a little bit excited about. They didn't care that Tatis wasn't out there to help them. He's on the 10-day IL, I believe. And yeah, I mean, they're just looking good anyway. Not too bothered by it. They've put up at least 9 runs so far. So definitely an offense is looking good. They scored 9, 7, 2, 6, and 9 runs respectively over their last few games. In general, this team just hitting the ball well. They're 7th in the majors in runs scored, 2nd in the majors in batting average. They are 5th in the majors getting on base at a 324 mark. Will they miss Tatis? Sure, it's apparently going to be some time is the quote until he comes back, but right now it doesn't seem to bother them. They are hitting the ball well. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Nationals at plus 165. We see the Padres at minus 185. We've got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. Washington is 21-21 on the road. The Padres are 22-21 at home. We see mixed trends towards the over-under. Guys, this is a kind of a tough game to figure out. I do tend to think there's a chance that Washington could get the win in this game if we see the good version of DJ Hers, but seems like a big ask going up against a tough Padres team. The Nationals aren't a squad that's usually going to put up a lot of runs, although they've been putting up some runs in this series. So overall, guys, I think it's worth a small look at the Nationals plus 165, but will I be putting this in my pinned comment? Absolutely not. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Cleveland Guardians going on the road to take on the Baltimore Orioles. The Guardians come into this game fresh off of a 7th straight win. They've won the first 2 games of the series 10-8 and 3-2 respectively. They're 51-26 on the season, handing the ball to veteran Carlos Carrasco for this game. He's 3-6 this year with a 5.40 ERA. He's coming off a very good start there at home against the Toronto Blue Jays. He went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, and only a single earned run. Over his last 5 outings, the Guardians are only 2-3, so that's a little bit discouraging, and he hasn't exactly faced the toughest opponents over those 5 starts either, so definitely some concerns for me putting Carlos Carrasco out there on the mound. And while he hasn't faced the Orioles yet this season, it could be a little bit tough out there. They are one of the best hitting teams in the majors, and they're coming off a game where I know they lost, but they scored a lot of runs. The Cleveland bullpen this year, guys, has not been terrible. Obviously, they're 5th in the majors with a 3.50 bullpen ERA. So if Carrasco can't go super deep into this game, the bullpen should be able to theoretically pick up the slack. But if he gives up a couple home runs, it could get very tough very quick. The Guardians offense is obviously coming off of a 10-run day, and they've been swinging the bats pretty well, guys. They've scored a 10, 3, 6, 6, 7, and 6 runs respectively over their last several games. Jose Ramirez is hitting the ball very well. This team is 5th in the majors in runs scored, 9th in the majors in on-base percentage. This is just a team that you can expect to put up some runs, no doubt about that. And they're going up against a team that you can generally expect to put up some runs, very little doubt about that. It's the Baltimore Orioles. They're having their toughest time of the season. They've lost 5 games in a row. They're 49-30 on the year now. They're handing the ball to Grayson Rodriguez, who's 8-3 on the season with a 3.82 ERA. He's coming off of a terrible start. He's been kind of part of the problem here. He went 5 innings, gave up 9 hits and 7 earned runs at Houston. So not a very good outing after having a fantastic outing against the Phillies. Just couldn't summon up whatever he needed there against the Houston Astros. The Baltimore bullpen has been having a bit of a hard time lately too. They're down to 4th in the majors with a 3.40 bullpen ERA. So not what we've come to expect from this bullpen over the course of the year. And while the offense has kind of seemingly found its way back a little bit, I mean, they scored 8 runs in this loss, but before that they had scored 2, 1, and 1 run respectively. So yeah, some question marks about how things are looking for the Orioles right now. Do I expect them to snap out of this rough stretch here at some point? Absolutely, I do. They're way too talented of a team, way too deep. They are pretty young teams. Their inconsistency, kind of makes sense out there. They're still 1st in the majors in runs scored and 7th in the majors in batting average, though, guys. They're the best slugging percentage team in the majors. Gunnar Henderson is obviously an absolute monster, so definitely not a team that anybody should be taking lightly. Look at the numbers for this game. We see the Guardians at plus 154. We see the Orioles at minus 175. We see an over-under of 9 in this game. I mean, yeah, guys, it's a bit tough out there for me, honestly. I don't love the over-under either way. I do think that there's some value in taking the Orioles minus 175 or minus 1.5 to get them to bounce back, but I've got to see something positive out of this team before I bet on them because, yeah, it has just been quite the struggle for them recently. So give me the Orioles as a small lean, but this is not a game that I'm super confident in given all the struggles Baltimore has had recently. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at Game 2 of the Subway Series between the New York Yankees and the New York Mets. The Yankees ended up taking the loss in Game 1 of the series 9-7. They've actually had a really tough time losing 5 out of their last 6 overall. They're 52-29 on the season. We see Stanton is still out. They're going to be handing the ball to Luis Gil in this game, who's 9-2 this year with a 2.77 ERA, coming off of by far his worst start of the season, guys. He got absolutely shelled by the Orioles, only going 1 1/3 innings, giving up 8 hits and 7 earned runs. So after a terrible start like that, I think we can expect him to bounce back. His other 4 starts before that were all very dominant. He looked great against the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Twins, and the Angels. None of those are particularly horrible hitting teams. Definitely expecting big things from Luis Gil in this game. The Yankees bullpen is sporting a 3.28 bullpen ERA despite them having some struggles here recently. I'm expecting to see good things from the bullpen as well. So things, hopefully, from my perspective at least, should be looking up for that New York Yankees pitching staff. And in general, the offense clearly isn't too bothered here. I mean, they scored 7 runs in Game 1 of this series. They, any team is going to miss Stanton, but I don't think it's an absolute disaster. Over the course of the season, this has obviously been one of the best 2 or 3 offenses in the major leagues. They're third in runs scored, third in slugging percentage. They're fourth in the majors with a .331 on base percentage. We've got Aaron Judge, we've got Soto. Like, this is a loaded roster. So I'm expecting them to be able to give the Mets a hard time here in game 2. The Mets come into this game winners of 3 of their last 4. They're up to 38 and 39 on the season, so that has to feel pretty good. They're hitting the ball to Sean Manaea, who's 4-3 this season with a 4.16 ERA. He's coming off of a decent start, I guess, at the Rangers. He went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 2 hits and 3 earned runs. He walked 3 and struck out 6 in that game. His start before that was very good against San Diego, but before that, guys, he was getting shelled. He got shelled by the Phillies, shelled by the Diamondbacks, and I guess before that had a decent start against the Giants, but we do see that the Mets are only 2-3 over his last 5 starts, and he's not a guy that I have a ton of confidence in. In general, the Mets bullpen is also not a bullpen I have a ton of confidence in. I mean, a 4.11 bullpen ERA, not fantastic, and obviously they didn't have that great of a time in their last game, so, some question marks about this pitching staff for sure, and while the offense is looking great, I mean, they've scored 9, 2, 5, and 1 run, respectively, over their last 3. The game before that, they scored 11 runs, so things have been looking up for this offense for sure. They're looking above average, which has not always been the case. Obviously, they're not going to have Diaz here for another, I want to say, 9 games, something like that, after his little suspension there for some sort of foreign substance on his hand. In general, though, guys, we're definitely leaning towards the Yankees in this game. I think we're going to see a big bounce back here from Luis Gil. He's a monster out there. He's not going to let one bad start throw him off. The Yankees are 28 and 15 on the road, which is an MLB best road mark. They're only -142, which is very reasonable. If you wanted to take a -1.5 in this game, you could. I'm just going to look to not get greedy and take the Yankees to win this game straight up. This has a decent chance to be my biggest bet of the day. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Toronto Blue Jays going on the road to take on the Boston Red Sox. The Blue Jays come into this game fresh off of a 9-4 win there in Game 2 of this series. They came alive. The bats absolutely came alive. We saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. drive in 4 runs in that game. They snapped their 7-game losing streak. They're 36 and 43 on the season. Handing the ball in this one to Yariel Rodriguez, who's 0-2 on the season with a 5.94 ERA, coming off of a very short, a very bad start there at Cleveland, where he went 1 1/3 innings, gave up 2 hits and 5 runs. 4 of them were earned. Just a terrible outing. He's had decent outings in general. They have not been very long ones. So, gotta kind of look at what the bullpen's going to be able to do once he comes out of that game very early on. And overall this season, guys, not a lot of positives to report for that Toronto bullpen. They've been one of the worst bullpens in all of Major League Baseball. So, big concerns there. Also concerns about this offense. Obviously, they're coming off a game where they scored 9 runs, so that's great. But in general, what can we expect from them consistently? Not a whole lot. There's a reason this team is 36 and 43 on the season. A lot of that has to do with their offense, guys. They're 27th in the majors in runs scored. They are 22nd in the majors in team batting average, batting .233 as a squad. 25th in the majors in slugging percentage. Not a great power team, so plenty of questions for me about this team. We're also hearing stuff about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. being open to a trade to the Yankees. Yeah, not sure why that's being brought up. Seems kind of, weird to be talking about that in the middle of the season, but I guess whatever. They're going to have to, try to have another good game here against the Red Sox, who are 43 and 37 coming off of that loss, which snapped a 3-game winning streak. They're handing the ball in this one to Cutter Crawford, who's 3 and 7 this year with a 3.59 ERA. He's coming off a bad start there at the Cincinnati Reds, where he went 6 1/3 innings, gave up 5 hits, 5 runs, only 3 of them were earned. He walked 2 and struck out 7. So he's, he's had his moments this season. He hasn't had a lot of great ones recently in general, though. So not a guy that I'm super high on out there. Over his last 5 starts, we see that the Red Sox are only 1 and 4. So that's not very encouraging. It has been a tough stretch of opponents for him, though. He pitched at the Reds, at home against the Yankees, at home against the Phillies, at home against the Braves, and then at Baltimore. So it doesn't get a whole lot tougher than that. I mean, we'll see what he can do out here against a much worse hitting Toronto Blue Jays team. The Red Sox bullpen has been good all season long, guys. They're 6th in the majors with a 3.54 bullpen ERA, so that's not awful. And we've seen the offense be much better lately over their last 10 to 15 games. Right now, they're sitting at 8th in the majors in runs scored and 6th in the majors, batting .255 as a squad. They've scored 4, 7, 7, 4, and 2 runs respectively over their last 5 games, and they've won 3 out of those 5. So, that's not amazing, but not terrible. Jarren Duran is leading the way for them with a .288 batting average. This is a team that's very, very solid at the plate. Not a lot of problems for me there. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Blue Jays at +136. We see the Red Sox at -150. We've got an over-under of 9.5 in this game. I don't have enough faith in these 2 starters to be interested in the over-under, but guys, it might seem annoying to go back to the well here for the Boston Red Sox, but man, I think they're in a very good spot here going up against Rodriguez, who is not a solid starter. I do kind of like Cutter Crawford to have a bounce back here against a pretty bad offensive team, although he didn't have, the greatest time against the Cincinnati Reds in his last game. I think we'll see some slightly better stuff from him, and the Red Sox definitely have the better bullpen. Is this a pick that I like enough to put it down in the pinned comment? We'll kind of have to wait and see. I tend to think it's got a chance, but man, the Red Sox being only 19-21 at home isn't great, and Toronto being 18-24 on the road, that kind of helps a little bit, so we'll just have to wait and see. It's got a chance. Next up, guys, we're going to take a brief look here at Game 2 of that doubleheader between the Braves and the Cardinals. Right now, it's looking like the Braves are going to be starting Bryce Elder in Game 2. He's 1-2 this season with a 6.46 ERA. He's coming off of a terrible start against the Padres, a not great start against the Mets, where he went 5 1/3 innings, gave up 7 hits. He only gave up 2 earned runs in that game, so maybe it's slightly better, but also a terrible start against the Dodgers, so not a guy that I have a ton of faith in. The Cardinals don't have a confirmed starter yet for this game. It's looking like the numbers have it down that the Cardinals are going to have a pretty poor starter out there, and they haven't had the best bullpen over the course of the season or the best offense. So with the Cardinals at plus 155 and the Braves at minus 184 for this game, I tend to think if the Cardinals can win Game 1, they've got a very decent shot to win Game 2. So we'll just have to wait and see. We're obviously on Atlanta in Game 1, so depending on what happens in Game 1 of this series, we could end up adding a pick here on Game 2 into the pinned comment. Like I said, check back at that pinned comment. We'll just have to wait and see. Moving right along here, guys, we've got the LA Dodgers going on the road to take on the Chicago White Sox. The Dodgers come into this game fresh off of a 4-3 win there in Game 2 of this series. They've won 3-0 and 4-3 against the White Sox. Obviously not the toughest team. In general, guys, the Dodgers are pretty good. They're 50-31 on the year. They're not really sweating it with the whole Mookie Betts is out for a while thing. Seems like they're doing all right. They're handing the ball to Gavin Stone in this game, who's 8-2 this season with a 3.04 ERA. He hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs over any of his last 5 starts. To be honest, guys, he's actually only allowed 7 earned runs over his last 5 starts. Pretty dominant stuff. We see the Dodgers are 5-0 over those starts. The only one game there where they won by less than 2 runs. So he has been dominant out there, even against teams like the Yankees and the Royals and the Mets. Like, he has looked fantastic. So no notes for me here about Gavin Stone. The dude is an absolute monster. In general, guys, the Dodgers bullpen has been fantastic as well. A 3.29 bullpen ERA has easily had them in the top 5 all season. So not a lot of problems here with their bullpen. And the hitters are hitting the ball pretty well, even without Mookie Betts in there. 4, 3, and 7 runs respectively over their last 3 games. Not amazing by this team's standards, but they're second in the majors in runs scored and 4th in the majors in batting average. Ohtani's an absolute monster. We all know that. Hernandez was out for personal reasons there on Tuesday. We don't know for sure if he's going to be back on Wednesday. Obviously, they're going to be missing Mookie Betts here for a while, so we'll just wait and see how long he's actually out with that one. Sounds like it could be a 6 to 8 week situation, but we're hoping to see Hernandez back for this game, but we don't know for sure, so keep an eye on those injury reports. They're hoping he'll be back to take on the White Sox in Game 3 here. The White Sox are 21-60 on the season. They're handing the ball in this one to Eric Feedy, who's 5-2 this year with a 3.05 ERA. He's been one of the few bright spots there for the White Sox. He's coming off of a very good outing against the Detroit Tigers. He was in Detroit for that one. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits and 2 earned runs. So he was very, very good, and he's been good over pretty much his last 4. Maybe we could give him credit for his last 5 starts, doing everything he can to, give this terrible, terrible team a chance to win. The White Sox bullpen is terrible. The White Sox hitting is worse in the major leagues. So any of you White Sox fans out there, with the buddies at the table watching this game, sorry, man, but the White Sox do unfortunately suck. It's going to be a bit, but there's reason for hope with this pitching staff and guys like Crochet out there. So, maybe someday you'll be good, but it's not going to be right now. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we're looking at the Dodgers minus 190, the White Sox plus 170. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. I honestly think this is a very good spot for a no-run first inning play. In general, I don't know if I really trust the under in this game, but the Dodgers aren't hitting the ball particularly well. I'm also interested in the Dodgers minus 190. That's a very expensive price. Don't get me wrong. I'm a little bit afraid to take them minus 1.5 or anything like that, but I do think they find a way to win this game. I think probably the no-run first inning will be the better value, but I also think under in the first 5 could be good as well. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we got the Minnesota Twins going on the road to take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Twins come into this game fresh off of a 5-4 loss there in Game 1. They lost that game in the 7th inning with Marte hitting a 2-run home run in the first and a go-ahead run on an infield hit in the 7th. So, yeah, he was kind of what killed the Twins in that one. The Twins are handing the ball to Simeon Woods-Richardson in this game. He's 2-1 this season with a 3.26 ERA, coming off of a pretty solid start there against the Tampa Bay Rays. He went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. Went a little bit deeper into the game than we usually expect him to. The last time he went over 6 innings was on the 8th back at Pittsburgh. He looked very good in that start, but then followed it up with a stinker against the Oakland A's. So that gives us a little bit of reason for concern about him in this one. We're also always going to be a bit concerned about that Twins bullpen, guys. 21st in the majors with a 4.17 bullpen ERA is not great. The offense not exactly firing on all cylinders in Game 1 of this series. They've scored 4 and 3 runs respectively over their last 2. Not a bad offensive team, the Twins. I mean, they're one of the better slugging percentage teams in the majors. They're top 10 in runs scored. They're 11th in the majors with an on-base percentage of .318. So, not a lot of terrible things to say about this offense. I mean, they're going to put up some runs very likely. The question is, are they going to be able to keep up with the Diamondbacks, who come into this game obviously fresh off of a win? They've won 3 of their last 5. They're 39-40 on the year. Handing the ball in this one to Ryan Nelson, who's 5-5 this season with a 5.18 ERA. He's coming off of a very good start, actually back-to-back very good starts, and 3 out of his last 5 starts have been excellent. A good start at Washington, a good start at home against the White Sox. He'll definitely take that. Not obviously the toughest opponents out there, but he's throwing the ball well. He's a young guy. We'll give him some credit where credit is due. The Diamondbacks bullpen is a concern for sure, guys. Don't get me wrong. Not a very good bullpen at all. One of the worst in the majors. So that's a significant concern, but the bats can make up for that at times, guys. They're obviously coming off of a game where they scored 5 runs. They've scored 5, 1, 1, and 5 runs respectively. So I think they're due to have a little bit of a stretch here where they hit the ball pretty well. Obviously, Marte is swinging the bat pretty well right now. So definitely feeling some good things for the Diamondbacks. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, see the Twins at -118, the Diamondbacks at +102. The Twins are only 20-19 on the road. Arizona is 19-18 at home. Guys, I'm leaning towards the Diamondbacks +102 in this game. It's got a definite chance to end up there in the pinned comment. I like the way they're swinging the bats. I don't like Simeon Woods-Richardson coming off of a, quote, long, unquote, outing. So I think there's a decent chance that we're going to see good things here from the Diamondbacks in this game. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out StumpTheSpread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.